G'day. Today I've got an interesting project that I'm going to share. I'm also testing out some new equipment. If everything works properly, you won't be able to notice any difference. And if it doesn't work, then it's going to be extremely obvious. So wish me luck with all of that and let me get started. In an earlier video, I worked with one of these OLEDs and my mission was to try and get it to work with a microbit. That mission failed. I have actually got this OLED to work with the Arduino though. When I was in high school, we had a set of old Apple IIe computers and there was a program where there was a little turtle and you could use the little turtle to draw graphics on the screen. I'm planning to emulate that program using the Arduino, the OLED display as the screen, and one of these little stick modules. I'm going to connect all of this up and see if I can replicate that turtle drawing program. I've got my Arduino here and my joystick and my OLED display, also the mini breadboard. If you're doing Arduino projects at home using breadboards, I highly recommend getting yourself one of these little kits of pre-prepared insulated jumper wires. These little connectors make it really easy to get your circuit working. To begin with, I want to position this OLED onto the breadboard. The joystick, the little connectors here aren't in the correct orientation, so I'll use a set of ribbon connectors. I'm just going to put these across here. Now I think I might swap, even though these are naturally laid so that red's to the left, I'm actually going to swap these and I'll make red the positive 5-volt line, and then I'll just keep the other ones as they are. The cool thing about this little joystick module is that basically it works like two separate potentiometers. You've got an X and Y axes that you can move it on, and to connect it up to the Arduino we just use two analog input pins as the source to read it, and then there's also the ability to click the switch in. On the actual module you'll see there's a ground, a 5-volt, a VRX, a VRY and a switch connector. I'm going to connect these into the breadboard at the other end. I've already connected orange to ground, red then can go to positive. Then I'll connect up my other pins to just 3 separate buses on the breadboard here. Might even use one of these little jumper pins to kind of secure that joystick to the board so that it doesn't run away, that I can move the pins anywhere on the breadboard that's comfortable to give it a nice layout. Now it's a simple case of connecting the ground pin to the ground pin on the OLED and the VCC to the common 5 volts on the OLED. Then I can get a jumper wire from 5 volts and ground, with black being my ground and white being my 5 volts. Let's actually put them in the way that I said. Black being the ground and white being the VCC. Now I do need to connect some more wires up. I have a VR and a VY, which are green and yellow, are going to go to pin A0 and A1, while the blue wire connects to pin 7. The last little piece of this puzzle is to connect the SCL, system clock, and SCA to the relevant pins on the OLED here. So that's the hardware all set up. If all is going to plan, I should be able to now connect up my USB, upload the code. I've done all my coding off camera because I don't want to bore everyone senseless going through messes of code. If you would like an explanation for how the code works, put a comment there. If there's a demand, I'll create a video that explains the code. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to share the code if anybody else wants to replicate this project, perhaps for home for your kids, or if you're a teacher for the classroom, then if I can figure out how to post a link to the code, I'll try. Alright, so I've got to stick a USB cable in here. It's over to the laptop to connect to the correct COM port, which I failed to do. Okay, now you should be able to see my little shape there in the middle. That's my pencil, so I can move my joystick around and have that respond. I find these little OLEDs to be a bit finicky from time to time. They can just pause and stop working. Now that little dot moves around the way I wanted it to. If anyone knows why these OLEDs seem to be a bit unreliable and needing a reset all the time, chuck a comment there, because I'd love to get a bit of a better understanding of that. See how the whole circuit seems to have stopped responding. I reckon that when this happens, the OLED has stopped refreshing for some reason, even though the actual circuit I think is still running. I could try debugging using that serial port. That's a problem for another day though. What I'll do is just do a system reset. There we go. I've drawn a pair of spectacles. Isn't that fantastic? If I could figure out how to provide a link to the code, I'll put that in the description. With regard to the OLED just stopping responding from time to time, if anybody's got any idea what's causing that, please put a comment there. I'd love to hear that. There's some sort of way that I can debug, or a bit of code that I can put in there that might make that a bit more reliable of a connection. Anyway, that's it for now. See you next time.